Hello everyone, Necrosity here and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the 10 best full art basics for your deck. Let's get started. First up are the basic lands from Theros Beyond Death. Now these have been called many things, but probably Pokemon lands is what you hear the most. Generally I think these look better in a monocolor deck, but they do work in dual color decks. I've played around with them in a 3-color deck, and while they still look okay, they're just not as appealing with multiple colors. Next up we have Unhinged. Now these were the cream of the crop 5-6 years ago, and although Double Masters did reprint these, I still think the older ones look better and are definitely more appealing. While the border isn't on the newer ones, they're probably still a good substitute, but I don't think anything beats the original OG, especially if they're foil. Niche? Yep. Expensive? Yep. Better than the Modern Horizon 2 versions? I think so. Plus, looking online, the full art coloring looks pretty bright, and I can only hope that the foil versions are just as good, if not better. But we will see. The only downside is that you only get 5, one of each, when you buy the secret lair, so these can get pricey if you don't run 1 or 2 in a deck. These lands are easily just the most metal thing that Wizards have ever released. I really wish they would have put these in the fat packs or the collector's boosters, and I can't wait to find a deck to put these into. Hopefully by then the hype kind of dies down a bit, but my god are they metal. Not a whole lot to say about these ones. They look great. They look good, whether it's a monocolor deck, a 4-color deck, a 3-color deck. The price is relatively cheap. The foils are extremely overpriced in an endeavor I'm not on, so if you're on it, best of luck. I'd like to see. And I think these are a great starting point for any deck. Now, the secret lair really sticks out for me because it's a very aesthetic looking thing. It's very bright, it's very eye catching, and I just like the grid style. Now, luckily for me, I only need 1 of each for my Tainted Pack deck, so it's going to be pretty easy to fit in. However, I do hope there are more variants or types of these in the future because I could see myself using these in a 2 or 3-color deck. Thank you, Crimson Vow, thank you, Midnight Hunt, and thank you, Wizards, because this is the aesthetic that so many people like. This is the aesthetic that so many people want. Please keep this energy going into New Phyrexia or whatever the Phyrexian title is, because we want more of this. They look good foil, they look good full art, they don't really curl, they stand out, and they are very, very affordable. These still look good, and I still think they're the gold standard. I just think compared to everything else that's being released, they don't look as good. They're pretty niche in terms of like, they're more land eccentric versus just being an aesthetic. They're relatively cheap to get into, they're pretty much everywhere, and they're a great starting point for any deck, regardless of color. The idea behind these basics are pretty intense. I like the idea of the before destruction and after destruction, but I still think these are a little bit like the Zendikar lands where when they came out, everyone used them, so they're just not as appealing anymore, which I know is not a great reason, but to me, I just like the nuance of, hey, what's that, or hey, what's that? They're relatively cheap to get into still. They're probably another good way to get into doing this, but for right now, I just don't think they stick out into a top 10. It is a full art, but it's only a swamp. It did come in a secret lair, so I put it on the honorable mentions. Maybe in a top 10 swamp video it'll do better, but for right now, it's in the honorable mentions, even though it looks great. The Dracula and Godzilla secret lair lands were both following their respective sets when they're doing alternate versions of cards. Dracula being in the Crimson Vow set and Godzilla being in the Ikoria set. Now, I think these lands look really good if you were to do it based on a theme. Dracula theme being in Crimson Vow and Godzilla being a theme in Ikoria. But outside of that, I feel like the Godzilla lands didn't really hold up much. He seemed too much like a background character as to where I would have liked him to be a lot more like Dracula's secret lair, where he would have been up front, he would have been the main draw and the main appeal of a full art, versus just being the little thing you see in the back. This is just to humor people, because as a full art basic, it has no art. But you can consider the text and art, seeing as the text takes up the entirety of the card. I know a lot of people were a fan of them. They just weren't personally for me, but I still think they were worth mentioning. I like the art. I like the concept, and I love the fact that you get 5 of the full arts for the secret lair price. Or you can get the bundle of 25 lands too. That's something I think that needs to happen more. But as of right now, there are only 3 released, and I believe that means there's 9 missing. And I don't know when the rest are coming, but as a foil, I'm hoping they look good. They kind of look good as a non-foil, and they're a very, very particular aesthetic for certain people, I think. Neon Dynasty just dropped, and you knew this was coming. These full art lands are incredible, and I think they just set the new gold standard for all future releases. The artwork's great, the aesthetic's great, and overall, I think these are an absolute win. They're going to look great in every deck, and most importantly, super easy to get a hold of right now. The hype is very, very real. Now, I know we're not supposed to get these until next year thanks to a pushback, but they were supposed to drop in April, and we've been knowing for a few months we were going to be getting them, and so I had to put them up here. The space theme mixed with the ecosystem, they just look fantastic. Not to mention they're dropping these with Shocklands to match. Hopefully they print a ton of these because I want to get a hold of them, you want to get a hold of them. The foils are probably going to be gorgeous, and that's all I can hope for. And at the top, I think it's going to be here for a while too, are the unsanctioned lands. Now, the artwork looks good, the gold border is a welcomed addition, and the foils look great. The only downside is the Dave Pringle, but almost every Magic card nowadays seems to do that. But these look great in a precon, or they look good in your trophy deck, and they're super cheap and easy to get a hold of. Almost no one runs them anymore, and I'm surprised at that. And that is it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment about your favorite full art basic, or if you have an idea for a future top 10 video.